We'd like to welcome you, Frank Golas, who's joining us today from DB Systel, or you're working actively with DB Systel, which is a Deutsche Bahn company within the group, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And you've been working very actively in the transformation. So they're going through a huge transformation in last years, looking at having self-organized groups and agile way of thinking. And you've been coaching some of these teams as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Wonderful. So we look forward to hearing a lot about your experience in implementing or what you've been using of SF. You discovered SF in 2017, which is not so long ago.
Yeah.
So how did you discover SF?
I think I started working for Deutsche Bahn in 2017. Yeah, it was this year. And I loved to work there as an agile coach, and I had no coaching experience at all. And so I looked around and checked what could I do, what training sounds interesting to me. And actually there was one I'm living near Frankfurt, and Kirsten Dierolf, she offered a training in Frankfurt, and I thought, okay. And I read the description about solution focus. I haven't heard before. And I read it, and it sounded like agile, like, okay, you have small steps and iteratively, and say, okay, sounds good, I will do that. And yeah, that was the story about my SF introduction.
Frank, you said that you were attracted to SF because it seemed so like Agile.
Yeah.
And so could you provide some background on the project for those watching or listening so that we've got an idea of how this Agile transformation is going about?
Yeah, of course. So I think it started around 2016. There was a huge conference within the Deutsche Bahn group, and it was the top management of all the companies within the group, and they talked about digitalization, and nobody mentioned the DB Systel. So it was like a wake-up call for DB Systel. They said, wow, we're talking about digitalization and they don't want to work with us. What's wrong? And I think that was the starting point where they decided to go totally different way in terms of organization. And I think in late 2016 they started to kick off the whole transformation and ask the people to organize in self-organizing teams. And the vision or the picture or the end should be that we have around 500 self-organizing teams. We are about 4,000 employees, and everybody is supposed to work in one team. So at the moment, we are, I think, 2.5 years later, or nearly 3 years later, we have around 60 teams which went through this transformation process. We have a process that every team has to pass, and yeah, there will come. I think, yeah, we'll have around 350 or some teams to come.
Okay.
Yeah, and my job or my job is to coach them or to accompany them through this transformation process.
So it's a program that goes on over years. And
yes. Yeah.
And what benefits do they anticipate will this transformation bring?
Yeah, I think then in 2016, our customers told us we are not very fast or flexible regarding their requirements, and we are not a good partner for them. So that's what they told us. And now what we hope to reach with the self-organizing teams is that we will be much more flexible, because within the teams there is a lot of empowerment. They have the power to decide when they are talking to customers. They can decide things. And so we are hoping to be much more flexible and faster. And a good partner for the customers. That's the goal.
And when you're accompanying these 60 teams, where are you using SF, or how is it being translated in your daily work?
I think we're using it, or I'm using it on basically 3 levels or 3 different situations. One thing is that I'm coaching the agile leaders within the team. So every team has agile master, a product owner, and several person in the delivery team.
Okay.
So it consists of 3 roles basically, and we are I'm calling myself an agile instructor. That's the role the name they gave us, agile instructor, and we are coaching mainly the agile masters. So they are quite new in this role, so they have no experience at all, mainly, and that's where I using SF a lot in coaching, in one-to-one coaching these agile leaders. That's one situation. Another one is I'm also working with the teams. And for example, every team has to develop a vision. What is your vision as a team? And normally they are doing this one sentence vision thing. So, but I love to do a future perfect session with them. So a much more broader vision, and I asked them to describe what will be different, what will your customers then see you doing, and this whole future perfect thing. And I think it's much more helpful for them than just creating one sentence about a vision. Yeah. We also, or I also using it in retrospectives. I don't know if you know this format. It's mainly about what went wrong, what was good, and what should we change. So, and there are a lot of different approaches to do retrospectives, and normally they are always doing some kind of analysis about what went wrong. So why did it and what? And I think it's not helpful because we are in a complex system, and it makes no sense to dig for a cause or something like that. Why did it went wrong? So I'm using there mainly future-orientated SF questions to work with them in retrospectives. Yeah, this just, I think, 2 examples or a lot of scaling. I love to do a lot of scaling with them. So as I mentioned earlier, or a team can be within this transformation process around 2 years. Yeah. So you're starting this process, and 2 years later, you will be at the end of this process. We call it definition of done. The beginning is definition of start. Then there is a some kind of feedback in between. It's called definition of ready, and then at the end, the team goes through this definition of done gate. And it's a long way, and sometimes they don't see that they are making any progress along this way. And I think it's great to use SF and scaling to say, okay, what's better, or which step did you make the last 3 months, something like that, so that they are beginning to think about the progress and not what's missing.
Do you catch them using some SF questions in between as well?
Yeah, mainly when I'm working with this one-on-one with the Agile Masters. Yeah. So when I'm hoping that and that's the intention, that they will take it and use it in their teams. Yeah. And there is a third point where we are introducing SF in the whole organization. It's every Agile Master and product owner, they have to do several trainings. They have to get a certification to do that job. And they all have SF introduction within the training. So it's a half day SF training.
And this is something that you've introduced into the process.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm one of the trainers as well, and we developed the training program at the start, and I said, okay, let's also get some SF stuff into it.
And yeah, and the resonance, how are people?
It's great. Yeah, it's great. It just within the training. So I'm normally doing scaling when I'm talking about, okay, for example, 10 would be your best self within your role, and the one is the opposite. Where are you now? And then I'm inviting them to discuss what they already have. And at the end, they seem to be very, very happy because they're recognizing what they already have.
And what they're accomplishing and what they yeah.
So I was just going to, as you've been talking about scaling, I was going to ask you a scaling question actually, Frank, which was on a scale from 1 to 10, and I appreciate you might not want to give a number where 10 is best. How would you rate progress towards achieving those benefits you talked about? You know, becoming more flexible, becoming more agile, becoming a favored partner really for the business. So I mean, if you want to use N, feel free to use N rather than a number.
You mean regarding the organization?
Yeah.
The whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might take a 6, I think.
Okay, a 6.
Yeah, a 6.
So how much do you think SF has contributed to that 6?
Pooh. Yeah. Hopefully it's a 2 or something like that within the whole thing.
So what gets you up to 2? What's working well in terms of that SF contribution?
I have one thing in mind. For example, when we do the training with the product owners, we also tell them how to talk to the customers. And for example, they should not ask the customers for features they would like to have. Instead, they should ask, okay, how would you notice, for example, that we're a good partner for you? And I think I hope they will ask these questions to their customers. And if they do so, I think it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And so what else would you add to that? So as well as asking those kind of questions?
I think it's the whole change of conversations we have in an organization, because I like the idea of conversations are mainly companies are mainly their conversations or consist of their conversations and interactions. And I think if we change these conversations and the interactions in an SF way, we will change the whole company to a more energized one, to a more future-orientated one. And I see that in different scenarios within the teams. I can feel that there is a change I can see when they talk. When they're talking about best hopes, I think it's one thing that nearly everybody knows within the company what best hopes are. So, yeah.
It sounds like you're going in with a trainer who's doing this as well, but you're kind of coming in with this approach on your own in this transformation. Or are you many working?
We are many. We all people within this role, this agile instructor, they had an SF training. So it's around 100 people.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a huge one like I had by Kirsten, but they had a 2 or 3 day training, and they all know about SF and the principles and all the things.
And
so we have a common ground.
yeah, and what is the shared like opinion on it moving forward with the transformation? These 100 colleagues, how do they see it in a similar way that you do? That they're changing and shifting the conversations in the organization, or how do they?
Yeah, I think so. I think we have a common ground there. We're seeing it the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating.
And what leads your colleagues to kind of adopt SF as well? 'Cause as you say, you went with Kirsten, and so what really encouraged your colleagues to think this is worthwhile adopting?
I think within the training they had, as a participant, they experienced the power of SF. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everybody said after this training, "Wow, it was so great, and we have to use this."
They all coming very much as well from an agile perspective, agile mindset of work as well.
It's different.
It's also
we have agile people, but we also have people from HR and other departments. So it's not only agile people like me.
Okay, so it's spreading through more of the company than just the agile, the kind of direct agile people, but it's spreading through more of the company as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so and that's just coming from it works. Is there any kind of leadership push to make SF more ingrained?
Yeah, I know we had some leadership trainings regarding SF, or they had trainings. Not all leaders, but a lot of were trained in SF as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're just trying to pull together what are the bits that are making it successful, really.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious on John's scale. Have you got a story for us of an 8 or 9 on that scale, of where you, like one of these little precious moments that felt, wow, we're very close to the transformation? This is a good story that I like to tell.
Yeah, I'm also sitting within this committee, I think is the name, which is doing the definition of done conversations with the teams. And all the teams, they have to present themselves, like, okay, what have we done? What is our service? How we are working together? So I think they have 60 minutes to present themselves in front of this committee, and they always there is one point where they have to talk about the customers, or some are inviting customers to this conversation. And there were more than 1 or 2 teams which had really, really good feedback from the customers, really good. And they also told us that they had never such a good partner before. And they're really excited about how we are working with them, with the customers. And this is the point where you can say, okay, it's working. It's somehow working. We're doing really good progress, but we have a long way to go, because it's more than 300 teams to come. But these are the first signs, and I think it's really important to see them and to acknowledge them as the first signs, and we have to go on the way, and it's a long way, of course, but this gives a lot of hope and a lot of energy, so we are going out of these conversations and are really happy then.
because we often say if you do the little step, then the rest can just happen in SF. And just are you hopeful that something like this can also happen with the 300 teams that are still to come, that the first teams could carry the rest across the transformation?
Yeah, of course. I think it's really important also to tell the success of these teams which already passed the gates. Yeah, and I think at the moment we see a lot of new teams which are going or coming within the process. So I think there is already something like a magnet, which pulls them into this process.
Faster, yeah.
Yeah. So from your, could I just ask a kind of processy or organizational question? The committee, you talk about a committee that meets that they're presented to about what's done. How is that committee made up? Is that Agile trainers like yourself, or is it senior leaders? Or?
It's different people. It's one person from the HR department, one from the Workers' Council, then one from the top management, one person, one Agile guy like me, Agile person, and I think that's it. And we've got one. This whole transformation, it's organized like a project. So you have one of these project leads. We call them the product owners of transformation. They are also within this committee. We are, I think, 5 or 6 different roles or people.
Yeah, I was just wondering for those watching or listening that they may be wondering what is the committee made up of. So.
Yeah.
Oh, Annie?
Yeah, I'm just amazed because I didn't know your story, Frank, and we just had a conference recently around large-scale transformation, and we really missed you there. I think as to what extent this is large-scaled. Talking about like 4,000 people, 300 teams, everyone at every level is involved in this transformation. And you've been involved pretty much since the beginning.
Yeah.
And knowing what you know now, after 2-3 years into it, maybe if you were to advise or work with a company that were to want to do a similar transformation, what would you advise at this point in your experience?
At this point, one thing which seems important to me is that you really have to do the small steps. So do one step and then reflect and then take the next one. Don't make a big upfront plan for the whole transformation. Let it emerge. That's one thing that's really important for me, to just learn on your way through the transformation how it will work. And another thing that's I think really important is that there is no one fits all. I think it's a one fits one. So you cannot urge your teams to work with Scrum or with Kanban. You let them decide how to work. So it's something like the client as the expert. They know the best how they are working together. So don't try to do the same for all. Yeah.
So you present these tools like Kanban as as options really for the teams, and say this is something else you can use.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want, whatever fits in their context.
Yeah,
that's important.
And what role would SF have in this? Then just wondering if is it also a tool or an option, or how do you see the role of the communication piece, let's say?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important pieces within the whole story, the communication. Because yeah, it depends how you talk to your employees, yeah, regarding this whole transformation process. And if you are acknowledging their progress they're making and not pushing them to go faster, I think and that's something I think they are doing pretty well in our company. It's not this pushing, yeah, you have to go, it no one asks how long you are within this transformation process. You can do it in 1 year, in 2 years, even longer. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you're changing your mind within the whole process. It's not about techniques or tools or something like that. It's about how we are interact. And interaction is one thing I see within the SF part. Yeah.
Noticing the differences, progress, and
the
small steps,
and appreciation.
So, Frank, I guess I've got 2 questions. First one is, what surprised you most in a pleasant way in this project over the last 3 years that you've been doing it? What's been your most pleasant surprise?
The most pleasant surprise is I think it's one thing is that you are really free to choose very many options. You're free to choose in which team you would like to work. You're free to choose how do you want to work, with whom, on what. So that's really surprised me, yeah, because it gives you many options also in terms of your personal development within the company. Yeah. And I could decide to become a developer, I think, and nobody would say you can't. I could do that.
Okay.
I would not, but I could. I think I could do that if I would like to. Yeah.
Okay. And my last question would be, what are you most proud of achieving over the last 3 years?
Most proud of?
Maybe in SF terms.
Yeah, I think I'm really proud of that. I think one of the SF persons who really it's important for me that we are using it intensively, and I put it into the training program of the Agile leaders, and I think that's yeah, I'm proud of that.
Good. And Manny?
Yeah, and that they come out and are happy to have been there as well, huh? So that program is and it's a journey that many companies are on at the moment. So your story is a beautiful example of how open you can go about this journey if you believe in noticing progress and acknowledgement and appreciation and just a few little things and letting things emerge. It will, if the focus of keeping the client happy is there, if the focus is clear, it will self-organize. And thank you so much for this story. And we hope to hear more about it or to read some more about it in the future. Have you written something so far on this?
No. Okay. Maybe I will, yeah. It's a good idea.
It'd be a great idea. We'll definitely be the first publishers. Gladly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I echo Annie. Thank you so much for sharing the story. I know you were on the Solution Focused Retreat last year in Switzerland, and I was there, and you ran a session talking about it, and I was blown away, as they say in English. Just really amazed at the sheer size of the project and what was happening, and the trust from the senior leadership in doing this. It's kind of scary. Scary in a nice way. But it's yeah, just amazing project to hear it being gone through, and it sounds like it's making a lot of progress, which is great.
Yeah, and I think we're something like a role model within the Deutsche Bahn group, so it spreads out now. They are all very interested in what we are doing. All the other companies within the group, and I hope that we can somehow get the whole group doing that.